and welcome to I've Got a Cool Job, Aurora Public Library series where we talk to professionals who perform interesting work. I'm Sam Marcello, and with me this week is Kristina Han. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right on this rainy day.
Yeah, right.
So rainy, so
Yeah.
allergy-inducing.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
great.
and headache-inducing, unfortunately.
Oh my goodness. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Kristina. She is the site coordinator for Amgen Biotech Experience at the University of Toronto, Mississauga, which provides high school teachers with technical training in biotechnology and access to equipment to perform university-level experience in their biology curriculum. A lover of squishy sciences, Kristina is passionate about education and informing, and when she's not working, loves fencing and her two house panthers, Bear and Bean.
It's a bit of a mouthful. I'm sorry.
It's golden. Don't worry. So, Kristina, where did your love of the squishy science come from?
I think initially probably in grade school, but most prominently grade 11 biology. I had a really good teacher, Miss Sherry Kerr from Nelson High School in Burlington. And she actually, when we were talking about anatomy and the body functions, she, because she lived on a farm, brought in a pair of cow lungs and blew them up in class to teach us, this is, and show us how much lungs expand when we take a breath as a person and in cows and, all of those things. And that was the one memory that really stuck with me, and numbers of years. I won't say how many numbers of years later, but that was the first time that I really said, I really wanted to do something to do with squishy sciences. And I had a fantastic chemistry teacher at the same time, Mr. Giannotti, who I have for grade 9 science, grade 10 science, grade 11 chemistry, and grade 12 chemistry. And so I didn't want to give up chemistry and biology. Didn't really care too much about physics, math and physics, and I don't tend to mix all that well. So it was just, it was sort of a natural progression from there into thinking maybe I'll go into biochemistry since it's a mix of both.
I really love just that you're giving this image of the cow's lung as kind of what the gold staple was for your passion. That is fantastic. And that's a really good story. I love it.
Yeah, and it was such a clear image that even just thinking back and when you sent me that question, I was like, I don't remember, but this is the one image that came up immediately with her just, on the bicycle pumping up the lungs. And yeah, it was just such a cool thing to do, and it really ties in right back to my current job because it's all about hands-on experiences in the high school classroom to just generate that curiosity about science, to bring that out for students to think about what they can do, what they're capable of doing outside of what's in the books, and to get your hands basically dirty to figure out what's going on and to do an experiment.
I miss the days of high school science when you got to get your hands dirty like that. It's like, here, dissect this.
Yeah.
But also neat.
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah.
I love that. And I'm happy that you get to do that. That is fantastic.
Yeah, no, I'm very lucky in my current
You are. Can you explain what it means to be a biochemist to our audience? And specifically, what kind of biochemistry do you work in?
So my past life was studying biochemistry in a postgraduate setting. My current job is coordinating this biotech program. So biochemistry really looks at what is happening inside the body on a molecular level. So that's the chemistry part, what's the interaction on a molecular level of what's happening, but within the context of biological organisms in a cell, essentially. So that's, you go down into the nitty-gritty bit, but you also do have to take into consideration, what happens here and how that affects the whole body as a full organism. And so in my postgraduate career, I looked at, for my master's, I looked into atherosclerosis, which is the buildup of plaque in your blood vessels that leads to heart disease and cardiovascular complications, and a whole lot of things about, stress and what does stress do on a cellular level, and how does that relate to an increase in heart disease for specific molecules. And for my PhD, which I didn't complete, I went kind of 180 and looked at a sugar modification molecule that was found in somewhere where it really wasn't supposed to be found. Realistically, all the other similar molecules are found in a different area of the cell. And so we were trying to figure out like why it's actually there, what its function is, and things like that. And actually that was done with X-ray crystallography, which is a lot more physics heavy than I kind of was prepared for, but it gave me a true appreciation to see, you know, on a protein structure level, how beautiful that protein is and how beautiful a structure of a protein is in terms of showing the protein story and what its function does. And just looking at the interactions itself is so fascinating to see, and just how one little change in one section of a protein leads to, you know, a mutation that affects the entirety of the body.
That is amazing. Like it's intense what you're saying as somebody like who is not super science oriented, but loves science.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've done a great job of describing to our audience, for people who aren't familiar, kind of what a biochemist does. I mean, now you're doing more of the biotechnology,
Yeah.
which kind of leads me into my next question, which is what exactly do you provide teachers across the province through Amgen Biotech Experience?
Yeah, so the ABE program, so it's Amgen Biotech Experience is just a mouthful when we talk about
a mouthful,
a huge mouthful. So it's shortened to ABE, and it was a program developed in the States as a supplement to sort of their high school biology curriculum. And when this program actually opened up a site at UTM, we actually figured out that the entirety of the 6 labs that are in that course basically teach grade 12 molecular genetics. Basically that full unit can be taught using these 6 labs. And it takes students through basically talking about DNA, RNA, you know, the central dogma, all the way to protein production. So we take 2 pieces of DNA, we manipulate them, cut them up, stitch them back together, and put them in a bacterial cell, so transform bacterial cell to produce a red fluorescent protein, which glows under blue light. And then we take that and the kids get to see, you know, they plate the cells. So you get to see these like amazing glowing plates with little like almost stars of colonies that are expressing the red fluorescent protein. And then the last lab is they purify this red fluorescent protein from basically a slurry of cell debris. And they can see, you know, you end up having this liquid basically that's glowing under blue light. So it's an amazing experience for students to see what is actually involved in going from the expression of a DNA, identifying something, you know, a gene that expresses something, all the way to how you produce that protein. And they work with equipment that we are able to provide as a program that they don't generally get access to until, you know, 1st or 2nd year university courses, because they are generally fairly expensive. But they're all equipment that's used in labs across, you know, research institutes, in industry production, and it mimics basically what is happening within an industry or within a research lab to get to the end point of trying to figure out what a protein is by producing it, and then studying what the protein, what their properties are.
That is an amazing service that you guys provide, and an amazing program.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do wonder, how has that been kind of affected with COVID, given we don't have like a classroom, right?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That's an excellent question. It certainly limits your ability to do anything in person. And so we've had a couple of teachers who've been able to do in-person implementation of the labs. And so they have, you know, cohorts of 15 students who come, and I make sure that, you know, there's enough materials for them so that there's no overlap of equipment between students and things like that. And just, you know, give them as much support as we can and work with different schedules and all of those things. The other thing that actually has come up in the last year is an online program called Lab Exchange, which was actually funded by the same foundation that the Amgen Experience program is funded by. And all of the labs are online on Lab Exchange as simulations. And so that's really been the big push for us, is to be able to take, you know, the labs and the fundamental theory of the labs, and then have the students have the option at home to do the simulations that takes them step by step through all of these different labs. And there's built-in fail-safes, but there's also built-in ways for students to fail and see their results after they have, missed a step or done something incorrectly, and that shows in their results. So it does simulate, what a real lab is supposed to be as much as it can online.
I think that's amazing that you've managed to adapt a lot of this to kind of provide success, even if it's just from a distance. That's amazing. And I can't wait to tell my science teacher friends about this if they haven't, already checked you guys out.
No, I would love, I mean, any questions, any concerns, anything that anybody wants to ask me, I am happy to provide support for and spread the word. Lab Exchange, I mean, they are at they were, I think, supposed to be online and live as of September of last year. Of course, with the pandemic, that got pushed earlier to March. And so it's been sort of growing pains, but it is a powerful platform. They have things like, vaccine development. They have things about COVID. They have things about, right now, actually, they're expanding their postgraduate career search. It's based at Harvard, so a lot more US-based education system resources, but it is a fantastic platform with a lot of resources and assets online.
That's fantastic. Like I said, I am blown away just with kind of what you do for a living. This is like starstruck in a weird way. What is one of your favorite aspects of your job?
Talking to the teachers and really seeing where we fit in terms of being able to help them generate and create and sort of inspire that interest and curiosity with their students. And the questions that they ask and the questions that the students ask is really, I mean, as a scientist and as a previous graduate student, that curiosity is always there for me. Like, what can we do better? What can we do next? What can we add on to make this more fun and more engaging and more fulfilling for the students that are in the program? So hearing that feedback and sort of being able to incorporate that and update sort of our approach as we, go through the years and as we go through the cycles of working with teachers, that's been, I think that's the most rewarding part of my job.
I love it. Thank you for being amazing support to our teachers right now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, they're certainly having a tough time.
They are. And like, my goodness, you can't even hug the teachers that you know in your life right now, even though they desperately, they need a lot of different things right now. I know a lot of my friends are definitely going through some hard patches, but we will get through this.
Yeah, there is some light at the end of the tunnel soon.
There is, and actually that kind of leads into my next question, which is, what are your thoughts on the applications of mRNA technology, such as the development of our recent COVID vaccines?
So I did have to look up a little bit for that to prepare for this question, because it was, I mean,
apologies.
No, it's great, because I mean, I love learning about new things, and mRNA vaccination, I sort of had a surface understanding of what it is, and I don't pretend to have a deep understanding of what it is still, but I mean, it's not a new technology. It started in the 60s. It's used in cancer therapy. It's used in other applications and in other medical fields. It's just, this is the first mRNA vaccine that we're using and we're seeing. And it's not, it doesn't change your DNA. It doesn't do, there's so much misinformation about mRNA vaccination. It's literally, it is basically taking a piece of genetic material that is being translated into a protein as a normal antibiotic or a normal immune reaction would happen in your body. It's basically just circumventing the virus coming into your body and creating havoc everywhere else. All it's doing right now is that the vaccine codes for that spike protein that would be recognized by your body as an immune response, and saying, hey, here's the thing that you need to recognize, make it so that your body produces an immune response. And then next time it shows up, you have an immune response and your body is ready for it. So it's basically a shortcut. And I think it's fascinating and neat. And so, and if it weren't for the fact that the pandemic and COVID-19 is killing a whole lot of people and making a whole lot of people sick, the scientific part of my brain is saying this is an amazing resource and this is an amazing case study to look at what vaccination does and to look at what the immune system does with this with the mRNA vaccine.
Well, and it's amazing given it's the fastest vaccine produced ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to give points to the science community just for being able to take the problem going, nope, we can solve this. We can figure this out.
Yeah.
And we now have 4 vaccines, possibly a 5th coming. So this is fantastic. And it's important that people understand the level of misinformation that is coming from it. And as someone who works in libraries, you know, it's our job to dispel that along with the science community, say, hey, like, where did you get that from? Is it a reputable source?
Yeah.
And we get a lot of questions like that all the time because there is so much unsureness and so much difficulty understanding and translating the information that is coming out because it comes out so quickly.
Yeah, and the anxiety isn't unfounded, because I think that there is certainly a disconnection between what people think the scientific method does and what science evolution is like versus what really science evolution is like in terms of, you know, there's always evolving information, and we're always trying to make sure that our theories and our hypotheses and our results are the correct ones based on emerging evidence. And that could mean saying, hey, what we said a month ago is incorrect. And yes, it's tough to say, look, this is not what we thought it was, and we have to change the way we do things again. And it's an ever-changing climate, and that is absolutely tough to deal with. But that's science, and that's making sure that we are at the forefront of what the current thought process and what the current understanding is at all times, so that we can best keep ourselves safe and best get out of this pandemic in you know, the least risky way possible, and losing the least number of people as possible.
Why do you think many women often avoid getting involved in STEM, and why is it valuable to have more women in the sciences?
I I think you can probably write a giant thesis on why less women are in STEM than others.
Fair enough.
I've certainly found, I think the both questions are sort of one and the same, in that you really don't see that many women in STEM, and so it's a little bit more trepidatious for you to go into a room that's basically male dominated and say, I belong here, because the imposter syndrome is so strong, especially as someone who has been, you know, maybe not as supported growing into a science career or an engineering career. You know, you've got all of these factors that are there. So it's absolutely imperative that more women are seen in leadership positions in STEM.
You're absolutely right about that. And I mean, I worked in the games industry for over 10 years, and I still kind of do it voluntarily. But again, women in the games industry are not the norm either.
Yeah.
And we try to normalize ourselves as much as we can. So it's definitely a position that I empathize with a lot, because again, having more women in science in prominent roles, it gives you the sense that, you know, it's possible and it should be normal.
Yeah.
I mean, Canada's top doctor is a woman. You know, Toronto's top doctor is a woman. And these are very important, you know, things that girls need to see. So I'm really happy that you do your job. I'm really happy that you are a woman in science, and I hope that you continue to inspire people with what you do. I think that's very important.
I hope so too. I don't know if I would.
This is, you know, I like to give compliments. You know what? Again, even for what you do as your job, I still think it's important. I still think what you do has a lot of value, even if it's just young scientists in the classroom trying to figure out if they even like science. I think in that regard, that makes your job incredibly valuable. You're giving people the sense that they can do it too, and I like that.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, it's I want to keep using normalization, but you know, you make it sound cool to be a scientist. You know, that's really it, right? Like, you don't, it's not gender based, it's not anything based. If you're interested in science, do it, pursue it, you know, love it as much as I do, you know, and go for it. And if it's not for you, find something you love. And that's actually something that comes up a lot with talking to our teachers during professional development is, and, you know, especially when they're talking about grade 12 kids, is how do you advise them if they don't know what they're doing going into university? And that's fine. You're 17, 18. You've got so many years ahead of you. Find something that you like. Go into a program that you think you might like. If you don't like it, find something else. And this is the time to explore, because you have the world is your oyster, and go find something that you like that hopefully make some money.
I love it. You kill me. I like you. I'm gonna kind of change a little gear here. I know you happen to be a fencer.
Previous fencer, current referee, and more administrator, referee, mentor than.
So fencing was a past life.
Yes.
That you're still involved in.
That I'm absolutely still involved in, yes.
I guess one of my questions that one of my colleagues brought up was, how does your work overlap with your love of fencing?
I found a lot of people in fencing who are also in the sciences.
So you made friendships.
Oh yes. So actually my last coach when I was competing fairly regularly is now I believe a professor, possibly VP of something at McMaster. I meant to look that up, did not.
No worries.
Sorry, Randall. But he is heavily involved in academia. So he actually ended up serving both as a coach, as a life mentor, as an academic mentor, sort of at the same time. And you sort of apply the same kind of thought process to getting ready for, you know, either a thesis defense or a dissertation, or, you know, writing an assignment that you have to present as you're talking about the next competition, as you're talking about, you know, training tomorrow. You have to make sure that you have everything lined up so that you're ready and you're mentally prepared to do what it is that you need to do to maximize the efficiency of, you know, the hour-long whatever period that you have to do it. And I mean, in the gym, out of the gym, talking, like chatting just randomly about what to do next, how does this fit, how does this work, and the mentoring that comes through that came through from him. I've sort of brought that to what I do now as well as a referee mentor, because it's talking about what I love. It's talking about fencing. It's talking about how you interact with individuals, how you know, all the soft skills that are involved. How do you decide what the next step is? Science is about trying to figure out what the answer to a question is. So you set up your experiments and you say, these are the processes that I have to go through, and I have to analyze the results to go to the next question. As a referee, I mean, it's shortened to milliseconds, but if an action happens, I have to be able to communicate clearly what the action is, what the analysis is, and what my analysis means for, in terms of if one person gets the score or the other. And if there is somebody who challenges me on that, I have to be able to defend my decision to them, and maintain professionalism throughout all of that. And as somebody who is 5'2", that's a little bit difficult when the fencers are 6'3" and above. So that's something that's also, you know, brought out. Academia is a little bit on the challenging side as a female, short, women of color, all of these things that are there. And so you learn all these soft skills to be able to communicate concisely, properly, and in a professional manner that kind of goes across the board to all of that.
That's fantastic. And actually, it's a really good way to kind of pair both things that you do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess my last question, because my coworkers were really curious about this, is what's the process in becoming a fencing referee?
So, I mean, to start off, we generally encourage individuals who do want to pursue a refereeing career to have some background as an athlete in fencing, just so then you're familiar with the general trends and interpretations of the rules that are happening in fencing itself. And in addition to, you know, like what actually happens in a competition, so you know what the next steps are supposed to be and things like that. And then if they do want to continue pursuing as a referee, they attend a clinic that's usually held by the Ontario Fencing Association Officials Committee at some point in time in the fall. Didn't have one last year. COVID. But we're hoping that, over the summer this year, we'll be able to do something like that. And then after clinic attendance, the majority of the focus is on practical application and practical mentorship. So our candidates, they send in, what they're available for the specific competitions that are happening throughout the year. And then we as a committee sort of mix and match and sort of do the Tetrising of who is best fit for which competition, or, we just send out the list to all the host organizers and they say, we want to take these individuals, all of that. And we work with that. And then at these competitions, we'll have mentors assigned and we basically do real-time feedback for them. If they've done something, or if it's something that we can correct right away, we do that. If it happens to be that there is something that they're just either not seeing or they're seeing incorrectly and interpreting incorrectly, we'll fix that right away. And that's sort of ongoing. And once they've done enough mentorship sessions and have been given the go-ahead by the mentors, they then test for their certification. They have to write an exam and then they do a practical examination. And that takes anywhere between, one season, which is about 8 months, to 2 or 3 seasons, depending on whether they're competing still. We do have quite a few young athletes who want to referee on the side to get comfortable with refereeing, to sort of understand the sport from a different perspective. We do have athletes who do it because it's a way to supplement their competing careers, because you do make a little bit of money instead of just, sending money away, because you have to pay fees for, travel and accommodation, all of that, and registration fees. But, it really depends on whether an individual wants to and how much they put in and how well they know the rules and how well they improve and, put in the effort to get better.
Well, Kristina, that was a great answer. And again, fencing is a world that I am slowly learning about through certain means. I always seem to get paired with fencers and I kind of love it. But I want to thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I really appreciated chatting with you, and I can't wait to share with, the viewers what you do and the amazing work that you do to support students across the province.
And thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak about, just the program, the ABE Amgen Biotech Experience program itself, but just, talk to you and learn about you.
You flatter me. Thank you so much for your time. Take care.
You too. Bye.